Are you one of those people who doesn't sweat? You work out and barely see a drop of sweat. You're hiking with your friends and they're all sweating, but not you. No do rags in your backpack. Well, is not sweating a problem? And if it is, how do you change it? In this episode, I'm going to go over why it is a problem, how classical Chinese medicine says you can change it, and what the cause is in Chinese medicine, and examples of the different ways this can show up in your body. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, first the disclaimer, which is also why not sweating can be a problem. The body cools itself through sweating, so not sweating can cause your body to overheat and you can have a heat stroke. And guess what? Heat strokes can be life-threatening, and this is especially common in older adults. So please talk to your doctor to make sure that you don't have a genetic cause for not sweating, that you're not taking medications that could possibly reduce sweating, or that you don't have a disease that can decrease sweating, like diabetes. Okay, so now let's get started. Okay, so how do you change this, and is it going to be hard? Well, first off, it isn't going to be hard. And second, there are 3 things you can do to change it and what to think about at different ages in your life. If you're under 50 or 60, there's going to be 2 things that can work well at changing how you sweat. And the first is going to be cardiovascular activity, and the second is going to be saunas. Now, approach both of these with care because not sweating means you overheat easily. And if you have a disease like diabetes, congestive heart failure, or any issue that has you taking medications, again, consult your healthcare provider before doing either of these because you're going to overheat easily. So in the next section of this episode, the cause in Chinese medicine, lack of sweating is mainly about the heart channel. And what is the most doctor recommended way to increase the strength of your heart? Well, cardio based on your ability. So check out the episode, Consciously Helping Your Heart Stay Healthy, to get some tips on what to think about as you approach your cardio routines. And the stronger your heart gets, the better you sweat. And if you're like me, I was so out of shape when I started, I had to take extra caution. So check out my episode, Why Walking is a Good Thing, to get more information on staying safe while getting into shape with cardiovascular exercise. The next one is saunas, and saunas have always been my favorite. So if you're going to use a sauna, maybe think about taking extra caution because you're not sweating correctly and you're going to lock yourself in a box at temperatures just under boiling. So, okay, it takes me about a month of gradually building up to get my body starting sweating again. And I start out at about 5 minutes, and then afterwards I take a cool shower. I do this every day. So by the end of the month, I'm usually at about 15 minutes and I am sweating. And the big key for me is when my shins start to sweat. For me, that is usually when all my pores are starting to work again, and my shins are always the last to start sweating. Okay, so, everyone's different. So maybe leave a comment below on what was your last area to start sweating. And my hope is your healthcare provider can work with you on your health goals, that you can get information on what to watch out for as you're progressing on your health goals and when you need to make some changes and when you can go faster. It's crazy, but we have to take more caution and be more alert when we get older and we're trying to get back in shape. So again, I'm going to highlight some episodes that you can look at that can give you some ideas of things to think about, but it doesn't replace your healthcare provider. Okay, so now if you're over 80 and you run cold when everyone else says it's warm, yeah, you know that person. You may need to avoid the saunas and the cardiovascular exercises at first. Instead, you might want to look at drinking one of the ginger drinks or using more ginger in your diet, because this can help warm up your channels so you're not freezing all the time. And as soon as you're not freezing all the time, you have more energy. If you're under 80, I would be a little cautious using ginger because it's so warming. Now, if you're freezing and you're under 80 years old, you can probably get away with it for a while and feel warmer. But if you use too much of it, it can give you horrible heartburn. So we talked about the 50, 60-year-olds, and we've talked about the 80-year-olds. Well, then there's the 70s, which seems to be that in-between zone where you might be able to do a combination of the cardio, saunas, and ginger. So there's 3 things you can do that you can use to get your sweating back up to normal. In Western medicine, they say you sweat through the pores in your skin. And guess what? In Chinese medicine, they say the same thing. When the pores don't open efficiently, the body might not sweat. And if it's not genetics, if it's not medications, then what causes the pores to stop opening efficiently? In Chinese medicine, the most common reason for pores not opening up is going to be the lack of qi or energy in the channel that controls the opening and closing of the pores. That channel is a heart channel. So Chinese medicine says lack of qi in the heart channel can cause lack of sweating, but that can also cause things like anxiety, heart palpitations, or a whole lot of dreaming. And lack of heart qi suggests that you're not making enough, but that's not always the case. It's not always that lack of heart qi is that you're not making enough. Sometimes you have enough heart qi, but you have too much going on. And that feeling when you're feeling overwhelmed? That kind of stress consumes vitality. And it may be that you would have enough heart qi, except your life is overwhelming at the moment. If you want to understand what vitality is in Chinese medicine, I have a great blog. What is vitality and why normal signs of aging are not normal? And you might want to check that out. So here's a link. And let's take a little bit deeper dive on Chinese medicine because, that's some of my favorite stuff. So classical Chinese medicine says the heart channel or the heart is the emperor of the physical body. And one way this plays out is that the emotions go to the heart and they're translated into feelings. Okay, now you might be thinking, I don't believe that. But guess what? In Western medicine, in the last 10, 15 years, the study of the brain and the mind has found that emotions and feelings are 2 separate things. Western medicine actually states that emotions are the physical reactions activated through neurotransmitters and hormones released by the brain. And feelings are the conscious experience of emotions. So emotions are biochemical and electrical reactions in the body. And these reactions, they change the physical state of your body. So they change what your body's doing. They're neurological reactions to stimuli, to external stimuli. Well, Chinese medicine takes it one step further. The biochemical reactions are specialized to different areas of the body. And we're already familiar with the fact that different things are made in different parts of the body. The thyroid hormones made in a specific area, estrogens made in a specific area. Everything has a specific area. So each channel, so that what they say is each channel produces a unique biochemical reaction to specific stimuli. So the chemical reactions that are happening in the liver are going to be different than those happening in the stomach, those happening in the heart, those happening in the spleen. And that chemical or that biochemical reaction is actually associated with a particular type of emotion in the body. So, stress and anger reactions start with the liver and the liver channel. Fear reactions are initiated through the kidney and the kidney channel. Abandonment is triggered through the spleen and the spleen channel, and so on and so on and so on. So, you have an emotion, and then you need to translate it into a conscious feeling. And a conscious feeling is just an emotion that suddenly has meaning to you. So the heart in Chinese medicine is going to take that emotion and translate it into a feeling that has meaning to you. And to learn more about the heart channel, check out another great blog, Chinese Medicine, the Heart, and How to Avoid Chaos. It actually goes into this in some detail. Okay, so think about a time when your emotions were supercharged, when you had a lot of stress or a lot of fear or your abandonment issues were on fire. I mean, when that happens, it really changes how you interact with the world. You felt overwhelmed and you couldn't process everything that was going on. That is when your bladder channel gets triggered and you start in on your knee jerk reactions. So, to learn more about the bladder channel, check out my blog, How to Fix Chronic Back Pain and How You Relate to the World. The thing is, you are suddenly sending too many packets of information to the heart for processing and categorizing. It's like a short staffed business pushing their people to complete the same amount of work. Errors start popping up, things get missed, paperwork isn't filed, and everything turns into a storm. And that's what I mean when I say you could have enough heart chi, but suddenly you're asking for triple the effort. That is being overwhelmed. And if things would slow down, you could get it back under control. Okay, so those are some ideas on how the chi of the heart channel could be not enough. So, all this comes down to when there's not enough energy, the body's going to make decisions on energy allocation. And the first area cut off is usually the extremities because you actually don't need those to stay alive. So the work of opening and closing the pores slows. And without the constant movement of heat to the surface of the body, the pores freeze, closed. And the person feels cold faster, even if their skin feels hot. And you stop sweating. Okay, last part. Examples of how this can show up in your body. And for people under 50, the most common way it shows up is you don't really sweat. You work out and either you don't sweat or you just barely sweat. And you actually notice your lack of sweat and you notice that you're sweating a lot less than your companions or other people. And you're also going to be more prone to overheating and you're going to be the first one to dive for shade on hot days. Now, it's more obvious in the elderly where they're always cold. They prefer warm environments and usually too warm for the average person, and they never sweat. If they do start getting too hot, you're going to see that their cheeks start to flush, their skin gets papery, dusty pale, and they start experiencing balance issues as they start to overheat. So, the overall thought is the pores are frozen closed. And this happens because of how your body is moving heat from the interior to the exterior. And that's just not working correctly right now. And usually the heat is getting stuck in the interior of the body. Menopause is an example of heat not moving correctly in the body. The heat's getting stuck inside the body, and something happens to increase your stress level or your activity level, and suddenly you get a hot flash. And what's happening is that little bit of extra stress or activity was enough to push the heat to the surface. So think steam locomotive. Block the locomotive's ability to release steam into the surrounding environment. That is what happens when your pores are closed. The engine keeps running and the heat of the steam builds up. Suddenly, you have enough heat build up that it causes a blast of heat outwards to the surface of the body. As soon as the hot flash is over, you start the cycle again. Okay, so that's some thoughts on why you might not be sweating. And there's some ideas on what you can do to improve your sweating, how Chinese medicine sees this, and how it might look in your body. So, guys, thanks for coming out and being present. Wishing you all great health. And until next time, I'll catch you on the other side.